Month is almost over, and in that time, a lot of people have come up to me in the streets and asked me very similar kinds of questions. It's all like, hey RabbidLuigi, are you not really bored of Smash Bros yet? And hey RabbidLuigi, are we going to see something which isn't about Smash Bros at some point in the future? And also the occasional, hey RabbidLuigi, I didn't know you lived around here. Can I follow you home? I got weapons for Christmas.
Really though, how could I ever get bored of Super Smash Bros when it has so much to offer? I can complain about it, I can pretend to understand the more technical sides of it, I can contribute to the rampant speculation that comes with new characters. That's coming up soon, maybe I should talk about that. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface and will probably come back to Smash Bros outside of the month I've dedicated to it. But for now, it's probably a good idea to wrap things up in some way. I'm not about to pretend for a moment that I'm the quintessential authority on Smash Bros character viability because, despite spending the best part of a month talking about the franchise and having previously made a 6-part video where I detailed my opinion on every playable fighter at the time, I am very far removed from being an expert. So don't take this video too seriously and try to remember it for what I'm trying to make it. A fun rundown on some of my favourite characters from Smash Bros Ultimate. There's an ungodly number of fighters in this game, the chance that you completely agree with the video you're about to watch is very small. That's why I'm here in the first place. You'll soon realise while watching this video that the main difference between a more traditional tier list and what I have for an opinion is that I don't play Smash Bros at anywhere near the highest level, and therefore I have a slightly different set of qualities that I look for in a fighter. Mind you, there's a fair deal of similarities since I too value things like good recovery and killing potential, but also I really like what they've done with Ganondorf in this game, and I doubt that tier lists would reflect that. Because he's still slow and lethargic and easily punished by a huge amount of lighter characters, but I've always had a soft spot for heavyweight characters in Smash Bros games. Ganondorf has undergone some pretty radical changes to his toolkit beyond his aesthetic upgrade to look more like he does in Ocarina of Time, and I think you can attribute a lot of his helpful little tweaks to Ganondorf simply being a bit quicker in Ultimate. Not a hard thing to do since he was slow and sad in the last few games, but this new and improved Ganondorf, complete with his sweet new sword from that Space World demo all those years ago, is quite a lot of fun to use actually. You look at everything that was changed from Smash Bros 4 and that's a hell of a lot of green. I for one welcome our new porcine overlord. It's easy to forget that some of these characters have been around in Smash Bros games for nearly 20 years and the subject of a large number of tweaks in that time. The Samus Aran of Smash 64, for example, is a completely different, mostly unrelated animal to how she is in Ultimate, with certain fighters having their role in the roster altered as more characters are added. Samus was pretty bad in Smash 64, and from what I can remember, Link wasn't much better. He's never really been all that good, our spiky-eared boy from Hyrule, but he's always been fun to use, at least from my perspective. And that's all that counts in the end.
Smash Ultimate marked a big change for Link, where he ditched the usual green clothes for the first time in Smash Bros history for the Champion's Tunic from Breath of the Wild, which, for other characters, is usually a sign of an updated design and not a lot else, but Link can now use remote bombs that can be detonated remotely? And that makes some kind of difference, I think.
Nah, not really, but I find that the changes made to Link have helped him become a little more entertaining to use, if not necessarily all that much better. The remote bombs give you a neat tactical option for area denial, which is extremely potent when edge guarding, and the subtle addition of Link shooting out sword beams when at 0% damage is a nice little touch too. Losing the hook shot by virtue of the item not appearing in Breath of the Wild means that Link no longer has a tether recovery, which is a little concerning, but it's not like he's become Little Mac overnight. The spin attack still does an adequate job of keeping you in the game most of the time. And hey, I've seen the video! Link has the strongest forward smash in the whole game since he hits foes twice in the same attack. If you hit both of those, Link has some great killing potential and can reliably finish off opponents given the space. With young Link returning to the roster, I guess Link needed some big changes, and I'm happy to report that most of them are pretty sweet. You gotta give Ganondorf some kind of competition, right? Gradually unlocking characters in Smash Bros. Ultimate was absolutely the best way of doing things. It allowed me, or rather forced me, to play as characters that I might not have chosen if I had access to some of my favourites from older games. And it became particularly useful when I unlocked my first newcomer. It's just an easier way of pacing the unlock so that the player isn't incredibly overwhelmed by new things. I ended up spending a lot more time with Olimar than I had in Smash 4, and I think I was missing out a little bit. You often forget what Olimar is capable of since it's the Pikmin that are doing most of the heavy lifting, but at no point should you ever underestimate what his little alien friends can do to the shape of your face. Looking around at websites and patch notes from one game to the next, I don't think Olimar has undergone any significant changes in between Smash 4 and Ultimate. I just think I've started paying a bit more attention. He can pluck 3 Pikmin at a time with their own specific qualities and strengths and use them as smash attacks to inflict a huge amount of damage in a very short space of time. Wouldn't have been my choice for a main, but with all this at his disposal, why the hell not? This guy's been on the brink of death a few times, that's why he fights with no mercy. Here's something I thought I'd never say. I really enjoy playing as Pichu. Feels weird saying that, and never gonna get used to it. The decision to include everyone from every previous Smash Bros. Game brought up the awkward scenario of reintroducing a character like Pichu, who did very little in Melee apart from hurting itself with its own attacks and getting flung across the screen due to being one of the lightest characters in the game. Since I brought up Pichu's shortcomings a few weeks ago, a lot of people have said that Pichu is actually awesome and that I have no penis, but I kinda get it now. Though Pichu is way more viable in Ultimate than he ever was in Melee, I still don't get it. I still prefer Pikachu, but baby steps. We'll get there one day. Pikachu has basically always been a good Smash Bros. Character, occasionally one of the best in the roster, and it's business as usual with Ultimate. I didn't play a lot of Pikachu when I first started playing Ultimate because I expected him to be a very solid fighter, and wouldn't you just know it? Even more than that, the Pikachu of Smash 4 was good, but so much has been done to make him into a significantly more terrifying prospect in Ultimate. I think they made Pikachu faster as well, which absolutely was not necessary at all, but the kind of charity I can get on board for, because now he can do so much more to harass an opponent and give them very little room to work with. Pikachu's final smash has also been fiddled with so that it works like a cutscene and less like aimlessly wandering around as a ball of electricity. Damn son, I feel so powerful right now.
Pichu is much better in Ultimate, which is a pleasant surprise that I didn't really see coming, but Pikachu has been improved from a pre-existing position of strength, and he didn't really need it. No doubt he would still cause problems for people without the improvements, but this is the world that's been laid before us, and I suppose I'm very grateful. If you give this kind of speed to Ike, then everyone else can go home.
You'd be forgiven for getting the impression that every fighter in Smash Bros. Ultimate has been gifted buffs and improvements by the great Sakurai in the sky, but that is not the case at all. Certainly, characters who are beginning to fall away from even the slightest consideration of being viable have been given a handy-dandy boost so they can keep pace with the competition, but equally so, fighters that were running away with the metagame in Smash 4 have since been nerfed to the ground. Bayonetta was terrifying and just a little bit broken in the last game, and I think MK Leo performing the ladder combo in front of Sakurai at the Invitational Tournament earlier this year is at least one reason why she's a shadow of her former self now. Cloud's good though, also nerfed a lot, but not as badly as Bayonetta, so I'll take what I can get. By the time that Cloud came out as a DLC character, I wasn't as into Smash Bros. 4 as I was at the start, and so I didn't spend as much time playing as Cloud at the peak of his powers as I have done recently in Ultimate. You can definitely see a deterioration in some of Cloud's fancier combos, and overall he's doing less damage this time around, but I don't know, I still think he's really well put together in this game, and crucially, offers up a completely different kind of sword fighter. Limit Break and the whole system that came with it was far more effective and foolproof in Smash 4, but it's still powerful in Ultimate and gives Cloud something to work on over the course of a battle. Nerfs happen to us all, but remember that it could always be worse. Meta Knight has never been the same since the incident. I don't know what gets you out of bed in the morning, but personally I'm a man of simple tastes. If you announce that the latest title in your cornerstone fighting game franchise is having a lot of characters squeezed in, then yeah, that's some exciting news, I agree. If you announce that as part of this news you're bringing back Snake, a character who has suffered a lot in the past couple of years, I will fall off my chair. That's a thing that actually happened. This means a lot to me. At some point, you have to accept that the problems with Konami and Hideo Kojima have caused enough disruptions to make Snake's inclusion in Smash Bros. An impossibility, but apparently Sakurai has horrifying magic powers or something. I don't know, I'm kinda scared of him now. I'm not afraid to say that I was a little emotional playing as Snake again, but that emotion quickly turned to a general feeling of pride once I realized that Snake had made the transition very nicely from Brawl. Like Ganondorf, Snake's received a bit of a speed boost, which helps accentuate his generally decent strength and mobility. A number of his attacks do a little less damage this time around as a way of keeping things balanced, but most importantly, the codec calls are back, which is just the thing that I was missing from my life, actually. Even if they're recycled from Brawl without any new additions, hearing Colonel Campbell talk about Wario using farting as his method of attacking is exactly why you get these characters doing crossovers. I'm slowly realizing how much I've missed this. Part of the fun of making these videos like this is that I ordered my favourite newcomers shortly after Ultimate came out. That was more of a general first impressions video based on about a dozen hours of playing every new character in the game, but what is interesting is how my view of some characters has changed as I've gotten more time with them. Isabelle, for example, is way better than I gave her credit for and takes some of the best moves from Villager while mixing them with the world's scariest fishing rod. I was right with Simon though, he's just really cool. Still haven't worked out the big differences between Simon and Richter though. I was reading somewhere that Richter is generally better with his specials, whereas Simon excels with his wit, and that's all I could ever ask for. I really like how much variety there is to Simon's moveset. The Vampire Killer offers Simon some potent range to his smash attacks at the cost of requiring some precise aim since the whip hasn't got the biggest hitbox in the world, but that's exactly why Simon has all these sub-weapons. When you've got holy water and crosses that you can throw out wherever you fancy, you can put a load of pressure on your opponent and force them to react to all this crap in the way. Especially the axe, which is thrown with just the right kind of arc to cause maximum discomfort for any foe that is trying to make it back onto the stage. Richter can do all of this, but damn, look at Simon's hair! What more do you need?
I've seen a lot of GIFs and videos on social media since Ultimate came out of incredible displays of skill and these insane combos that people have been able to string together to completely shut down an opponent. It is very impressive to watch, but one character has been featured in these videos more often than any other, and for a very damn good reason.
I may have vastly underestimated the power and capabilities of the Inklings, because I see a character like this and all I have going through my head is that the ink will be cool because it'll help them to do more damage, and then that will be enough to elevate the Inklings above the average fighter. You don't need to do anything else, everybody go home. And yeah, that definitely comes into play very often, and ink coverage is an important part of getting the most out of them, but there was a line I used when I first talked about the Inklings that I should have thought more about. Every part of their toolkit works together with a great synergy is what that man said, and it definitely does, but also you can combo a lot of these together and use them to break dreams. Maintaining ink levels is an effective way of keeping the Inklings reasonably balanced, but on the other hand, you've got the Splat Roller that can bury opponents for a long time at higher percentages that can easily confirm a kill without too many problems at all. In a way, it's almost brainless and easily the best combo that you can string together, but I've always maintained that the predictably effective strategy is exactly that. Predictable. Though hard to counter for sure, and just one of the number of ways that the Inklings can break your spirit. I'll need more time with these guys because there's a lot to them that I previously didn't really pay attention to. I think a lot of people are going to be annoyed for a long time. I decided very early on that Kromm was the best newcomer in Smash Ultimate. A bit weird that such an honor would fall to an Echo fighter, but in taking ideas and moves from other Fire Emblem characters, Kromm manages to feel very similar but ultimately different enough to be deserving of his own spot. His recovery sucks though. It took me a while to realize that because I was looking at everything else through rose-tinted glasses that otherwise blinded me to whatever the fuck this is. I've seen way too many gifs recently of Kromms trying in vain to make it back. It'll break a delicate heart. I stand by my idea that you could probably get rid of most other Fire Emblem characters now. Obviously they won't because people have their favorites and it doesn't make any sense to do so, and also because Ultimate's going for this whole everything's here thing. You may have missed that. But Kromm occupies this interesting role that pulls strengths and weaknesses from other characters from the same franchise. He's like a greatest hit showcase of some of the more interesting bits from other Fire Emblem fighters, and when you factor in his unique final smash that references the specials from Fire Emblem Awakening, I'm not sure why you'd play as anyone else. Other than, the recovery, it's a serious issue. Can't have it all though. Spending time over Christmas with the family gave me a lot of time to play Smash Bros. With a super casual, highly perceptive state of mind. It wasn't about picking characters apart to determine which one was my favourite, and instead more like something to distract me during the downtime between my dad talking about all the cycling he's been doing. I sometimes forget to do this, just playing a game and not worrying about what this all means for the greater scope of gaming. It was during this time that the penny dropped hard enough to make an audible ding. King K Rool is kind of broken, isn't he? And again, this is something I said in that video about newcomers. I mentioned that K Rool is a very heavy character who hits like a freight train, but also has projectiles, a counter move, and ridiculously good recovery for someone so heavy. A lot of this can be comboed together to rack up the damage incredibly quickly, and some of this can be strung alongside other moves to inflict guaranteed damage that can't really be avoided. What I didn't know at the time I made that video is that King K Rool's down throw actually puts someone in the ground, leaving them perfectly exposed to a very powerful smash attack. Does that sound good? I think that sounds good to me. He's a big guy, which means that you'll always have a chance of hitting him, but K Rool is very hard to kill most of the time. I guess if he's DK's antagonist, a character who was already big and powerful, he needed to be bigger and even stronger. What have you done, Sakurai?
This has been RabbidLuigi, and of all the fighters, both new and returning, King K Rool feels like the only one that does need a little bit of toning down. I never really like seeing that because I reckon people could probably adapt to it given the time to learn his moveset, but he is a very hard fighter to overcome at times. Though, give it a few months and everyone will know exactly what to do. Especially when RabbidLuigi gets in as DLC.